Hi, and welcome to The Perfect Show. I'm your host, Scott Maupin. I'm what you might call a perfection prospector, sifting through life looking for little things or experiences that could be considered perfect. Join me each episode as I examine one topic that I'm presenting as a little nugget of perfection. Hello again, it's Scott. Long time no talk. It's been over 2 years since the last episode, and I just sort of disappeared with no real explanation, which I guess sets me up perfectly again for my all-time favorite drop.
I have an announcement.
That's right, I'm back with a new season of The Perfect Show. I'll talk a little bit about what happened during my time away, and also thought this would be a great excuse to go back through the old episodes and add any updates or developments that have happened since they came out. So first, about me, I've had a lot of things change both personally and professionally. I'll dive into some things here, and I'll save some for later episodes. I was still making podcasts during my hiatus from the show, just a different variety than this one. I made about 100 episodes of a weekly show called Solutions from the Multiverse with my co-host Adam Brous. I also, during the break, spent a year teaching high school, like as a real teacher, which was fun. I got to do a little podcasting with the kids after school and introduce them to the process too. And then I got a second job with a podcasting company, making podcasts with professors and producing episodes for them. A second job which has since become my main job, so hooray. Let's see, what else? Well, I live in a new place. I have 2 new cats who I'm sure will barge their way onto the mic, and I'll have to introduce them at some point or another. I've had a car stolen via TikTok trend. I illustrated a book with my dad. He's so excited about it that he's already plotted out the next 25 books in the series. No lie, it's great. But back to my task of updating you on old episodes of the podcast. And, well, what better way to do that than by heading down and taking a stroll through the Perfectorium itself? That's right, the real Perfectorium. The index of perfect things. So in previous episodes, I always end by saying that the item or experience is now entered into the Perfectorium, the index of perfect things. And there is a page on the podcast website cataloging these items, which you can find at perfectshowpodcast.com/perfectorium, spelled like it sounds, of course. But that's just an online catalog of the contents of a physical location, where I keep the physical assets for the web pages. The brick-and-mortar Perfectorium. It's actually a real place where I can go and visit each exhibit from the show. A fortress of perfectude, if you will. Oh, what's that? You won't? Okay, I guess that's fair. So the Perfectorium is pretty important. As the world's only catalog of perfect things, it holds a certain place in the effort to preserve the best of humanity for the future. Like, most important is the human seed vault thing in Norway, but the Perfectorium ranks a close second, is my understanding. So, it's located a classified distance beneath the Earth's surface. That's why it's down here at the bottom of so many steps. And sci-fi elevators. And other sound effects that I was able to find. And now the one and only Perfectorium, safely tucked away on the other side of this hermetic seal. Just gotta grab the wheel and turn this like an old submarine door. Ooh. There. All right. So, we'll go through the episodes one by one and talk about the show a little bit in the process. Episode 1 was the animated short film Billy's Balloon by Don Hertzfeld. So I sit here, humbled, hiding, and recording the first episode of this show, while others slide down large, wet plastic tubes and do other awesome, fun summer things. And With that, Billy's Balloon takes its slot as the first item entered into the Perfectorium, the index of perfect things. No updates for this film, but he has a new one that just came out this past May of 2024 titled Me, and it's touring different cities and theaters now, so you can find the schedule and all that stuff on Don's website, bitterfilms.com. Episode 2 was my year with MoviePass.
Yeah,
In no time, I had the whole thing memorized, but there was one part I remembered the best.
Jalapeno. Wow, that's hot dog. Wow, that's hot dog. Hot dog.
I don't know if it was something about that transition or if I just like hot dogs, but forget the 9 announcements for me to put my phone away.
Jalapeno. Wow, that's hot dog.
That was the signal for me that the movie was about to begin. And with that, my year of MoviePass goes up on the shelf as the second item in the Perfectorium, the index of perfect things. I made this when it was a fully dead thing and I was reminiscing about it, but it since came back and I think died again. I'm not sure, but I actually got a MoviePass membership again during part of that briefly. It was a point system and way more complicated to me and less generous, so I ended up stopping that membership again. But I have joined the AMC A list and I have been super happy with it for the past year plus. So it might it honestly, it might be my favorite subscription of all the different things I pay for, like streaming services and whatnot. Just recently, however, like last month, the founder of MoviePass, Ted Farnsworth, has formally pled guilty of defrauding investors. So I guess things are starting to catch up for some of the people. Episode 3 was Baseball on the Radio. In a world where the pace of everything seems to be increasing all the time, it's nice to go back to a thing that feels exactly the same as it did when I was a kid. The same as when my dad was a kid. To me, it's just perfect. And with that, Baseball on the Radio becomes the third entry into the Perfectorium, the index of perfect things. The only update I wanted to put here was that I saw that in 2022, Vince Scully, the voice of the Los Angeles Dodgers, passed away, and there was an enormous outpouring of touching messages about how much his voice meant to people. And it was really cool to hear other people express sort of similar feelings about hearing baseball called over the radio as I did. Episode 4 was A Perfect Road.
So, like, it just became a pure sort of vanishing point. There was, like, a road to maybe, if not quite nowhere, just, like, it would just unfurl forever, perhaps.
Yeah.
An infinite road. Let's
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm very happy. I'm happy with how that worked out. Okay. And with that, the K10 to I-435 North interchange becomes the fourth item in the Perfectorium, the index of perfect things. Also, no real update here as I've not been back to Kansas since I made it. So that means it's lying there, just a perfect stretch of road, sitting there waiting patiently for lucky drivers to happen upon it and discover it for themselves. Episode 5 was my haunted house song. I brag to my date how I don't get scared. She doesn't know it's only cause I'm so prepared. All seem pretty macho as I'm unfazed by the horror, but it's just because I took the time to see it all before her. Then a new... My famous haunted house song, which I regret to inform you, and you will be surprised to learn, has not become a modern Halloween classic quite yet. Still in the 100 of views, but that's okay. I know it'll catch fire one of these days and blow up big. I just got to be patient. Okay, episode 6 was my Princess Mononoke and Miyazaki episode, and I've since seen his most recent film, The Boy and the Heron, but Mononoke still is my top. Oh, hello. Do you hear that? That's a deer that I'm about 30 feet away from, maybe. I'm sorry. I just snuck up on that girl. Let's see if I can get a picture. I didn't recognize it fully at the time, but the forest was providing me with the most Mononoke ending I could have asked for. Oh, you hear that? That is the deer walking away. All right. Cool. Cool seeing you. All right. And with that, Mononoke Hime, the Princess Mononoke, becomes the next item entered in the Perfectorium, the index of perfect things. Hot take, at the risk of opening up a whole can of worms, I may not be a total Miyazaki guy, I realize as I get older. Like, the more I see, the more I am like, "Meh, I don't know." There are a few of his that are top tier for me. Those are Princess Mononoke and My Neighbor Totoro. But most of the others I'm realizing rate for me just much lower overall. Okay, I'll stop that. You could send hate mail to me too, but you'll have to find the contact info yourself. I'm not plugging it again here just so you can get into a Miyazaki off with me. Episode 7 was the episode on tiny tents.
This is gonna look so weird.
What is?
The microphones. And that we're tied together.
We just have to kind of walk and be not sneaky.
I know, but it looks so weird in this. It's gonna look weird in public, which is what I'm worried about.
It's not going to be that bad.
Yes, it is.
Well, we'll give it a test out in the parking lot and see what you think. You're worried about the microphones, though, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, they're tiny microphones. I know how to hide
No,
these.
I'm not worried about the microphones. I'm worried about the cord.
Yeah, we put it like underneath our clothes and then nobody sees it.
That's too weird.
And with that, those tiny display tents in stores become the next entry into the Perfectorium, the index of perfect things. And after I made this episode, I got connected with a company called Cat Camp that also makes miniature sized tents, but one specifically for cats. So now I have two tiny tents, the original yellow one from Tiny Tents, and now this new red Cat Camp tent. I gotta say, they are both cool, but the Cat Camp one has a bigger doorway and a fuzzy floor inside. So it just seems like it's made especially for cats to enjoy, which is because it is, but it's absolutely excellent. Both tents currently reside in the catio I made for my cats last year, which is a big outdoor enclosure I built out of wood and wire and fencing, and then put a bunch of shelves and platforms on the walls for them to climb around on. So then episode 8 was the 10 yen arcade.
Oh, there's like a menu and stuff?
I don't know, that's what it says.
Neo Geo Multi-Video System NSK.
Metal Slug, Bomber. Are you kidding me?
Let's do it.
Bomberman?
Take
Hold
out
on a second,
Bomberman.
I want to see what else is here. Dude, if Bomberman's on here, that's like the holy grail for me.
And with that, the 10 yen arcade in Japan becomes the next entry into the Perfectorium, the index of perfect things. And if you liked this topic space, we will be headed back to spend some more time in the world of Japanese arcades next episode. I'd also retroactively designate this as the first episode of season 2, where I feel like I really leveled up the complexity of the episodes both technically and thematically. Episode 9 was my exploration of multi-language songs and singers who sing their songs in more than one language. And with that, songs sung by the same singer in different languages become the next. Huh. That's weird. And with that, songs sung by the same singer in a different language, that type of song becomes the next entry into the Perfectorium, the index of perfect things. Even after this episode came out, it sent me down a rabbit hole of K-pop that I still haven't fully climbed out of yet. I discovered that Boa, who I talked about a lot on that episode, is part of a K-pop supergroup called Girls on Top, and then I went down a whole search spiral of the different bands from the various members like aespa and Red Velvet and Girls' Generation, and then learned all sorts of things about how bands like Blackpink and Red Velvet actually do put out their songs and albums, at least sometimes, in Japanese and also English versions, and guess what? I like a lot of them. So if you're in my car and you ask to listen to K-pop on the drive, I got you. I might be a little dated though. That K-pop world moves very fast, and I'm discovering it's easy to fall behind, but I'm trying. All right, episode 10 was the compliment call-in. Yeah, the gauntlet has been laid. Lied. I have lied down the gauntlet. Laid. Gauntlet lane. Nothing new there other than I think there isn't need for a call-in message line anymore. I mean, at this point, I think most people could figure out how to record a voice memo and email it the next time I put out a call for audio. So I let the call-in number go. If you have something to send me, just contact me like a normal person using standard 2025 methods. Episode 11 was Morena. And with that, Morena, and by that I mean the man, the restaurant, the memories, the magic, all of it, becomes the next entry into the Perfectorium, the index of perfect things. Still a very special episode for me, and no new updates for it as far as I know. Episode 12 was about seeing the Taj Mahal at sunrise, and for my present-day counterpart, I visited a houseboat in Sausalito, California, that had been designed to look like a floating Taj Mahal. Let's get out our drawing and painting stuff. Painting and drawing is a pretty quiet deal. I'll try and talk some, but this might be like video games where I'm better at doing than I am at doing and talking. Oh! Whoa. He just went right in. Where'd he go? My chonky boy is gone. And with that, sunrise on the Taj Mahal becomes the next entry into the Perfectorium, the index of perfect things. Well, 2 winters back, some months after I had made the episode, there was a stretch of hard weather in Sausalito, and in March of 2023, a bomb cyclone blew through the area where the floating Taj was docked, knocked out some key windows, and kicked up big enough waves to cause the whole vessel to take on enough water to sink. So there was a bit of hubbub about what to do next, but what I was reading said that they determined it would have been actually more expensive to demolish and remove the Taj than to refloat and restore it. So in April 2023, they got the Sausalito Taj back up and floating. No word yet on what's going on inside damage-wise or what the ultimate fate will be, but I did visit it again recently, and it is much more boarded up. It has a different sort of feel, not quite the same, or maybe I'm just imagining that because I know what happened, but regardless, I'm glad I got to see it before all of that. I just didn't know how good my timing truly was. Episode 13 was my 3 a.m. cruise ship excursion that turned into witnessing a huge brawl. Some sort of a security thing happening. Oh my gosh. I step out and there's a fight? I returned to a full-on, all-out brawl on the dance floor. I'm talking 20 people at least. 10 aunts and uncles of one family versus 10 aunts and uncles of another family. It was wild. And with that, cruise ships at 3 a.m. become the next entry into the Perfectorium, the index of perfect things. No new updates and no new cruises for me, but a friend did go on a cruise later and happened to recognize that it was the exact same ship that I was on due to my description of the giant Frankenstein in the Frankenstein-themed nightclub. So he sent me a picture and also reported no fights on his cruise. Guess I just got lucky on that one too. Episode 14 was for park golf, the Japanese sport that I love and got to play again on a golf course here in California. I mean, I'm the first person to do that in the entire Pacific time zone ever? Wow. Amazing. Am I glowing? Can you tell? Do microphones hear glowing? Hey, it's probably not all that different from how Neil Armstrong felt walking on the moon. Well, actually, Destroyer Park Golf should be Neil Armstrong. I guess we would be Buzz Aldrin then. Wait, no. Worm burner in Ohio would be Buzz. Okay, then Michael Collins. I mean, I'll take that. The park golf Michael Collins? Oh, you mean Scott Moppin? Yeah, I've been called worse. And with that, park golf becomes the next entry into the Perfectorium, the index of perfect things. Since that episode, I found another local course that let me bend the rules a little bit, so I got to park golf that year with my dad when he came out to visit, and I also got contacted by a man named Gary Livesay, who owns USA Park Golf and USA Grass Golf, where they make and sell beautiful clubs, balls, and other park golf stuff here in the US. And Gary even sent me a new club and ball to try out this season once it's spring and I can get out there on the course again. Seriously gorgeous gear. I really can't wait to play some rounds with it. And then episode 15 was the Pink Shoes / Punk Shows episode where I talked about compliments and also found myself at my first ever punk show for a band called Rival Squad, who I connected with and interviewed on the episode. And with that, Pink Shoes and Punk Shows become the next entry into the Perfectorium, the index of perfect things. Rival Squad is doing good. They're still out there rocking. Go see them if you get a chance. And I'm now retroactively counting this episode as the end of season 2.
Bang bang.
It was the most listened to episode of the show, by the way. So thank you to all the new listeners. And that's it. Whew. That catches us up to now. I haven't put out anything on this feed for over 2 years, and I'm nervous about how this will go. But I was always thinking about it because honestly, this is what I love creating the most right now. And that means I'm ready to bring you a season 3, starting with this episode, part of what is currently 6 episodes that I have planned for it. I also have to think about the show format. I like making these super crafted episodes with tape and narration and custom music and sound effects and things, but I also think I want to find a way to connect with you all more where, I don't know, between full episodes, I can release smaller, less produced things, checking in or just connecting more regularly. Anyway, I'm happy to be back. I'm thrilled to be making the perfect show again, and I'm excited for you to hear what I've got planned. So with that, I guess we can seal up the old Perfectorium once more and head back up to the surface. No new entry from this episode, but visiting and updating the old entries felt like a nice bridge episode after a long hiatus and a good way to start publishing again after the break. The show's website is perfectshowpodcast.com. You can still catch me on Twitter. Yes, I still call it that, at Scott Moppin, or send an email to perfectshowshow@gmail.com, or find me at any number of places online, really. Just look a little bit. I'm very findable. I'm going to try to put these out about once a month, but I'm doing it around a full-time job, so like always, the schedule is more of a general guide, and things are finished when they're finished. All right, close this up. Just give some fake grunting noises. Yeah, okay, there we go. That leads me to this point where I can present you with my freshly finished trailer for season 3, which dropped right before this episode to mark the beginning of the new season. So here's the trailer for season 3 of The Perfect Show, and while you listen, I'll continue to make my way back up to the surface level. Enjoy. Hi, I'm Scott Moppin, and welcome to The Perfect Show, where, in a series of very much unperfect episodes, I bring you the story of one thing that I've flagged as a perfect object or experience from my life. I tell you about it, we explore what makes it so special, and then I try to recreate it in some way in the present, and hopefully fall down some weird rabbit holes along the way. On season 3 of The Perfect Show, first up, I'll be covering a Japanese arcade game I played obsessively, the best 4th of July of my life, and we'll try to figure out if you can still find any good treasures for $5. We'll head back to southern Japan for a surprising haircut, and then I'll recruit some help to try to build the perfect version of the best superhero. Listen in as I chase these perfect things and chew on what perfection even means, trying to find out something new and interesting each time about the world and also myself. I know I should have some cool clips from these upcoming episodes, but this is a one-person operation, and the truth is I make them all as I go, so I can't play you any clips because they simply do not exist yet. But the show is me. It's my attempt to shine a light on positive things and put good things out there to help balance out the bad stuff in the world. It's very much just my brain translated through a microphone. I hope you'll give it a listen. Season 3 of The Perfect Show. 6 new episodes, made one at a time, wherever you get your podcasts in 2025. And as always, thank you for listening to The Perfect Show.
I can eat 50 eggs.
So then, check back here in a few weeks' time for the next proper episode, which will be about the Japanese arcade drumming game Taiko no Tatsujin. Or you could also just subscribe, that way you'll know for sure when it comes out and be able to hear it before all your friends and coworkers spoil it for you because they just can't stop talking about it all day at the water cooler. This episode was recorded at the undisclosed location of the Perfectorium and mixed at Milky Way Studios in Oakland, California. Gotta pretend to close this up. And also, I know I usually do the whole rate, review, subscribe thing each episode, and that's a real request. I make this show by myself for the most part, and so if I had to pick one that I prefer you do, it'd be leave a review. And when you take the time to leave a review on Apple or give it a rating, I'm the one who sees that. And it's been pretty nice, but for this episode, and I'm going to try and do this for each episode this season, I want to try to just record myself doing the thing I'm asking you to do and the process involved. And it's for sure not cool to leave a review on your own show, so you get to hear me leave a review for another show instead. This time, I'm going to review a show called The Scheist Podcast, which is a movie podcast by Nick Scheist. Okay, so to leave an Apple Podcast review, which is where a review probably does the most good, I'll have to look the show up on an Apple device, either iTunes on a computer or the podcast app on a phone or tablet. Since my phone is an Android, I'll be using an iPad instead. Now, Nick, the host, actually puts out a few different movie podcasts and other cool content. He made a Twitter group with some other friendly film folk where I enjoy talking about movies. I was on an episode of his podcast, Bad Movies We Love, talking about Meet Joe Black, which I love. But this time I'm leaving a message for his show, The Scheist Podcast. Okay, so I open up the Apple Podcast app on the iPad. I'm going to hit that. All right, I'm going to hit the little magnifying glass up top. Type in Scheist Podcast. That's EIST. Boom. And then if I go to the bottom, there's like a rating review. He has a 5.0 rating. And I can go ahead and put either a 5-star rating down, or it gives me the option to write a review. So I'm going to do that. Let's see. So there I put my 5 stars. The review is, let me type it first and then I'll read it. Okay. Title, great way to keep up with the movies. Review is going to be, Nick and Kristen do an excellent job covering what films are coming out. It's great to hear their takes on both the movies and the movie industry too. And then the submit is up in the top right hand corner there, and boom, done. Submitted. So what did that take me? 3 minutes maybe? Probably most of it was typing and figuring out what to say. So not bad. Also, if you want to do that and leave a review for this show, it doesn't have to be earnest. I mean, it can be, but you can also just give me a good rating and write something funny too. I mean, I'm sensitive, so don't get too crazy, but yeah, why not? Let's see if this helps get any new reviews. I will be checking. I also would love for you to share the show with someone, of course. I'm trying to build the audience, really rebuild the audience, and what I've learned podcasting professionally now is that it really does happen best with word of mouth, still. And I'll do my part, okay? I mean, this is the one episode, since it's all updates, that may not be a good entry point, but if you will share the trailer for season 3 with someone you think might get it and enjoy what I'm doing here, I'll keep making each episode the best I possibly can. I know, it's a hollow threat, I'm doing that anyway, but what I'm trying to say to you is I got your back, so if you do this for me, I won't leave you hanging. I'm going to deliver solid episodes with humor and heart, and the person you recommend it to will be all like, oh yeah, whoever sent this my way is rad. Oops, the chopper's here. The multinational coalition that controls this land only opens up the airspace for really short windows, so I gotta go now or we'll get blown up by the podcast missile defense system. Anyway, as always, I really appreciate you spending your time with me. I'm Scott Moffat, and thank you for listening to The Perfect Show.
I can eat 50 eggs.